Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Adel Hamza, tourism expert, to shed more light on Egypt's winter and the upcoming or the current tourism season. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How
are you?
Go ahead, sir. Well, all year round, Egypt is the ideal destination due to its unique placement on the world's map. And when winter approaches, it's the best escape from the cold climate in different continents in Europe. So what are the best tourist destinations in Egypt during the winter season, in your opinion? Of course, maybe starting with Luxor and Aswan.
Of course. Actually, your question is very good question because, escaping from the cold climate around Egypt and Europe and all the countries around Egypt in winter is very, very important. And the tourists from these countries usually they delay their plans and their journeys until the winter to escape to Egypt and the countries around Egypt. Of course, Egypt is one of the favorites for them because when they come, they enjoy the sun, they enjoy the climate, which is fantastic all over the year. They enjoy also the culture, and they enjoy the touristic places and the antiquities and all these things. As you said, the best destination in Egypt for this is, as an old-fashioned thinking, it's Luxor and Aswan. But really, there are many other destinations in Egypt right now, very good in winter, and could be for different tourism, not only cultural tourism, like Sharm el-Sheikh, like Safaga, like Hurghada. Also, this place is very, very good places for the tourists in winter because they enjoy the beaches, which is very, very, warm. And also they enjoy the culture tourism, which is in Luxor and Aswan. So the benefit is really double benefit because they enjoy visiting the touristic places like temples and the monuments. And also they enjoy the beaches and diving,
Yes, well, sir, talking about diving, which you've just mentioned, there are a lot of other numerous activities related to the warm weather and the sun here in Egypt. Would you tell us more about these activities that tourists can enjoy here in Egypt?
Yeah, actually, in the last 10, 15 years, another kind of tourism appeared in Egypt in winter, which is going to these beaches in Sharm el-Sheikh, Hurghada, Red Sea, all these places is really became one of the destinations all over the world, attracting tourists from all over the world. There are activities there like diving, like snorkeling. There are many other activities around the beaches because, as you know, the warm climate in that areas in that years, and the government of Egypt and the Ministry of Tourism actually is doing a very good effort in that regard because they prepared a lot of beaches in these areas, and the investors in Egypt and from all over the world, actually these areas attracted them very much, and there are a lot of projects right now there in these areas, a lot of international hotels, which is competing actually with beaches and the hotels all around the world, which is playing in that field, which is diving and beaches. So
yes. Well, sir, the Ministry of Tourism is trying to link between cultural tourism and beach tourism. How would you view this initiative in light of its positive impact on tourists?
I didn't hear actually the last part of the question. So
how positive will this affect or impact tourists when they link cultural tourism with beach tourism?
Yeah, this is very important because right now, the tourism industry is not only for the old-fashioned people and the old people who is coming for culture and the monuments and the antiquities. Right now, the tourism is including the young people, including children. So I think right now the Egyptian government, they are doing a very big effort, unless it's not enough, actually, because we have a lot of treasures in Egypt and needs more planning about regarding that, that diversity of tourism.
Yes.
Of course, this is affecting the tourism, the increase, the tourists, linking between this kind of tourism, like beaches tourism and sports tourism, culture tourism, attract more people, attract more families. Instead of coming just parents, they come to Egypt, they bring their children, they bring their relatives. So it's really important, and has a very big effect on the tourism in Egypt. And you can imagine that the last 2 months in Egypt, we received like 3.5 million tourists in the cities of Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh.
Yes.
Which is really very significant thing, in Egypt.
Yes. Well, sir, would you please highlight the efforts done by the Ministry of Tourism to diversify the country's tourist destinations?
Yeah, they are doing actually a very big effort. I can tell you that they are doing their best, but it's not that enough. They need to do more, and I know, and they know that there are a lot of other things more than what they are doing right now to attract people to the different tourism in Egypt. In Egypt, there are many resources for tourism. In winter, in summer, in all the cities of Egypt. You cannot believe that right now all the cities in Egypt and the cities we didn't consider in the tourism before became really one of the attractions which is attracting tourists to Egypt. So I think that the tourism of the Ministry of Tourism, they are planning and they are doing their best, but this effort actually, in my opinion, is not enough.
Well, sir, moving on to Nile cruises and considering it a journey, not through land, but through thousands of years of history, culture, religion, and architecture. How do you see or view Nile cruise?
First, I thank you very much for this question. This question is actually giving me an impression that you are and you know a lot about tourism in Egypt. This question is very important because you said or you talked about the Nile cruises. Nile cruises, what we are doing right now is Nile cruises between Luxor and Aswan. And the Ministry of Tourism are planning to return back the Nile cruises from Cairo to Abu Simbel.
Yes.
Which is really going to be a very important role.
How many days is this cruise from Cairo to Abu Simbel by Nile cruise?
Sorry?
How long does it take? How many days?
It takes 12 days. And you can imagine that the tourists take 12 days. They pass by all the cities of Egypt, and part of this cruises take 8 days. They pass by all the cities from Cairo until they reach to Abu Simbel. So you can imagine how is the history, how is the religion, how is the information they got about the regions in Egypt. You know, every region in Egypt between Cairo and Abu Simbel is different. And every part of these regions has part of the history. You find the cities has monuments and antiquities related back to, you know, the first dynasty in the Egyptian history. And some other cities, they have things related to the medieval times in the Egyptian history. And some of it to the Christian period and some to the Islamic period. And you cannot imagine the diversity of these things. So the tourist actually cannot feel bored when he is doing this cruise, because every day he's tasting something different. Every day he's seeing different people, different culture, different cities, different accents, even in Arabic language. So this is really very, very good cruises, and
Yes.
the tourists, they enjoy these cruises very much. And I can tell you that only these cruises, if we are taking it or considering it as one of the resources in tourism in Egypt, this one can attract millions of people to come just for these cruises.
Well,
And sorry.
go ahead.
And we can benefit more actually from the river. We can benefit a lot and a lot from the staying longer for the tourists in Egypt. And I think the Egyptian government and the Ministry of Tourism right now are considering these cruises, and they are working hard to get these cruises back, inshallah.
Well, sir, how do you assess tourist flow into Luxor, and do you believe that classical tourism is back on track here in Egypt?
You know, this classical tourism is not going to end. We have a lot of another kind of tourism in Egypt, of course, but this kind of tourism, the classical tourism, especially those two regions, Luxor and Aswan, attracting people and people dreaming all over their lives to come to these places. So these places and this kind of tourism is not going to end.
Yes.
What we need to do actually to do more in these areas, to do more in planning the visits in this area, to develop the areas, to make these areas full of services.
Yes.
For the tourists, like, including a lot of services which is really we are missing in the last decade.
Well, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Adel Hamza, tourism expert. Many thanks for your insight. And dear viewers, now we go to a short break and we'll be right back.